Yo, what's going on, y'all? How's everybody doing? Welcome to Facemask Fantasy. Welcome to another Start Sit stream, Sunday edition. We are here for the next 3 hours to answer every single fantasy question that comes our way before kickoff. Good morning, everybody. What's going on, Senor Rojo? Good to see you. How many of y'all are watching the Saints-Viking games right now? I don't know how exciting it's going to be. Maybe it's going to be the rare situation where we have a more exciting show than the actual NFL product that's going to be on the field. Because, I mean, Alexander Madison scoring, looking all right. I don't know about them Saints right now, though. But let's get to it. Let's get to it again. Just so y'all know, if you missed out on yesterday's stream, Nick is not here. He's celebrating his birthday, his brother's wedding. So he's out for yet another stream. But I'm here with you, holding it down, and we will be back in full force as of Tuesday. So, but yeah, let's get right into it. Senor Rojo with the first question. You have Dan Bellinger still available. Would you play him over Bobby Trees or Treylon Burks? You have 2 flex spots available in PPR. No, I would play Bobby Trees and Treylon Burks. Bellinger is enticing. But right now it's still all basically speculation and, one touchdown. So I still got to see it. I'm not willing to put all my eggs in that Bellinger basket. Robert Trees and Bob and Treylon Burks. I would play both of those guys over Bellinger right now. And I wouldn't play Alec Pierce. I'm just not a fan of Alec Pierce. I would play both Tennessee wide receivers over playing Alec Pierce and over playing Bellinger right now. But I like Bellinger a lot. We identified Bellinger as a tight end that we were both in on, me more than Nick, early on in this offseason. And he got nothing but good news throughout the offseason. Getting that basically number 1 role all to himself. And now, he's coming into a little bit of prominence because of the lack of depth on this Giants wide receiver core. But I still got to see it one more week before I'm willing to go all in on a rookie tight end because, again, it just doesn't happen. So for redraft, I'm very hesitant to have really anything to do with Dan Bellinger until he really shows it to me. In dynasty leagues, I've been all over Dan Bellinger. Pause. SWA, what's going on? You're watching the game? You have anybody playing tonight? Yo, I have to admit, in the members only league, Kamara was still in my lineup. I did not see the update. So that's disappointing. That might be 0-4 in that league. Oh man. But yeah, Damon Luce, if it's your only option, picking up Craig Reynolds, then hey, that's not a bad swerve. But there's a chance, even with him being the number 2 running back for this week, that he doesn't really get all that much work. And they show that they have more faith in Jamal Williams than anybody would have guessed. Now the team likes Craig Reynolds. And I believe he did some things in spot work last year. So as a last-ditch option, it's not terrible. But it is a last-ditch option. SWA, Amon-Ra is out. Should I put in Treylon Burks, Scary Terry, or Drake London? I need a big game because my team's kind of injured this week. All right. I mean, Scary Terry has the highest ceiling. He's shown wide receiver 1 upside. Drake London has as well, but, 3-game sample size. If you're inclined to play it risky and go for all upside, if you feel like you need that this week, I think I would go Drake London, because there's a chance that he can get you 12 targets and blow the doors off the box score by the end of the game. Scary Terry is a little bit more of a safe play, but also comes with upside. I just don't know if he has as much upside as a Drake London does. Crazy to phrase it like that. 4 weeks in, but that's where we are. And Treylon Burks is not in the same tier as those other two. So Scary Terry, if you're trying to play it safe, if you're willing to play it a little risky, Drake London, and I would stay away from Treylon Burks with respect to those other two names that are choices for you. Michael Reeves, good to see you. Gabe Davis, DJ Moore, Richie James, or Mac Hollins. Pick one. I would pick Gabe Davis. I love DJ Moore, but you just can't trust him with Baker Mayfield throwing him the ball. Baker Mayfield has now shown through basically two organizations that he cannot get his number one playmaker or his prospective number one playmaker the ball. Look at what happened to OBJ when he went there versus what he was doing on the Rams. Who is the number one target, arguably, throughout that Browns tenure there with Baker Mayfield? It was Jarvis Landry, the number 2 wide receiver. It wasn't the number one. Baker does not highlight the number 1 wide receiver in his offense. He doesn't feature the number 1 wide receiver in his offense. He features the number 2, which, leads me to believe we might see some more Laviska Shenault weeks than we ever thought. But yeah, Gabe Davis, when you have an option to swerve from in DJ Moore right now, Gabe Davis is a solid pivot. I like it. Blue Crew, half PPR. Pick one. Curtis Samuels or Tony Pollard. Curtis Samuels. Because Zeke had a decent game last week. Tony Pollard had a better game on the ground, but he didn't score the touchdown. And without a long run on the ground, his box score would have looked a lot different. And I just like that Curtis Samuel is being used in such a varied manner through 3 weeks. B, Bateman, Brees, Gerald Everett, Curtis Samuel, or Antonio Gibson start 2 in my flex. Curtis Samuel and Bateman. Chuck, man, hey, what's going on, man? Appreciate it. And, yeah, man. Hey, we're, happy to help. Always happy to help. That's why we're here. Absolutely. Thanks for the kind words. Damon Luce, Burks, Collins, or Zay Jones at flex PPR. Burks? Is Zay Jones playing? He's questionable for week 4. He's expected to play against the Eagles. But if I have a choice between a questionable Zay Jones and a Burks who's all the way healthy, I know Zay Jones has been he's been good through 3 weeks. 11 targets last week. Oh man, and a touchdown. Yeah, you can't go away from that, especially since in week 1 he had 9 targets. So he's obviously much more of a target for Trevor Lawrence than we ever thought possible. I think there's a little bit of a just, even though he's coming into the game injured, they should need to throw the ball a lot to overcome what Philadelphia is or has shown themselves to be through 3 games. So I think I'm going Zay Jones in what could be a shootout, coming off of, a 3-game stretch where 2 of the games he's had at or above 9 targets. Sheldon Bright, good to see you, man. I'm still struggling. Should I go CEH over Rashad Penny? Yes. And Ramondre as my RB2? Yes. And my RB1 is Saquon. My flex is Mike Williams. Oh, so you're looking for CEH over Penny and Ramondre as your RB2? So this CEH has not played over 44% of snaps in any game this year, but he is still the RB8 on the year because he has gotten chunk plays and he scored touchdowns in tricky ways. The crazy pitch in week 1 on the goal line to get him the ball, that trickery play, like those things happen in the Chiefs offense for CEH. Technically, Jerick McKinnon has been the number 1 running back by snaps in the Chiefs offense. On the flip side, Ramondre and Penny look like they're asserting themselves in their backfield. There was a little bit of question mark after week 2, after 2 weeks through the year, with respect to Ramondre and Damian Harris, who is actually going to take the reins there all offseason. It was rumored to be Ramondre's backfield, or trending in that direction. Through 2 weeks, it didn't look like that. Through 3 weeks, it's starting to look like that. Penny, same thing. It was supposed to be Penny's backfield out the gate. And maybe Kenneth Walker would get some work as the season went on. Really, it's been a committee with Kenneth Walker, with DJ Dallas and Travis Homer involved. But now Rashad Penny is starting to pick up speed and starting to assert his dominance a little bit, partly due to injury in this backfield, because I believe that Travis Homer got injured, and I think he's out for the year. But Rashad Penny is asserting himself now too, and should have the snap lead in that backfield. How valuable is it? That's the concern. Penny and Ramondre are going to get a ton of work. Are they going to get high value work because of where their team operates on the field, most likely? No. Now, I think Ramondre is going to get a lot of work because of the fact that the Patriots have to roll out Brian Hoyer. But you have to remember that they're not going to keep in mind that they're not going to be in scoring position a ton with Brian Hoyer. The Seahawks have been, a nice little story. They're not going to be in scoring position a ton with Rashad Penny and Geno Smith. CEH is going to be in scoring position on those 40% of snaps. It's going to be able to keep him fresh, and he's been able to maintain RB1 value through 3 weeks. And I think you just continue to roll him out. There will be weeks where he does not get it done on those 44% of snaps. But I think with the guy being the RB8, you keep that guy in your lineup. I like Ramondre this week. He's probably my flex start of the week. My him and Khalil Herbert. But CEH. And then in terms of Mike Williams, yeah, I'm playing a wide receiver 1 over Rashad Penny or Ramondre right now too, so I'm keeping him where he is. Damon Luce, Jeff Wilson, ETN, Elijah Moore, Treylon Burks, or Donta Foreman in the flex PPR. Jeff Wilson. You can't trust ETN over a guy that is getting an RB1 workload in Jeff Wilson right now. Elijah Moore, yes, he's intriguing because Zach Wilson is coming back into the fold and playing. And maybe that jump starts Elijah Moore a little bit more than it has with Flacco at the helm for the Jets. But you can't trust him yet. Burks, out of all these options, I like him, but I would rather go with the guaranteed touches with Jeff Wilson. And Foreman, I mean, we have to monitor CMC. As far as I know, Christian McCaffrey is still playing. Yeah, he's likely to play against the Cardinals. So Jeff Wilson, Evolve Nick, Dameon Pierce, Michael Carter, or Tony Pollard. Who are the Texans playing right now? Or this week? The Chargers. I think I'd go Tony Pollard. I know if you might have been listening to everything I said about Tony Pollard above, but Dameon Pierce is going against the Chargers, and even with Justin Herbert having to deal with 4 fractured ribs or rib cartilage injuries or whatever he's dealing with, there's a chance that the Chargers just run away with this game, phasing out Dameon Pierce from the game plan. And I don't want to play that game. Michael Carter, I'm kind of on hold with this Jets offense until I see something out of Zach Wilson. Because the pass attempts that kept everybody afloat with Joe Burrow or Joe Flacco are not going to be there. He passed 59 times in week 1, 44 times in week 2. I'm not sure how many times in week 3, but it was probably a lot. And that led to a high tide few weeks for his skill position players. Breece Hall was getting it done through the air and the ground. Michael Carter was getting it done through the air and the ground. Garrett Wilson was putting up pretty incredible numbers. Corey Davis was sustaining wide receiver 3 value. Low-end wide receiver 3 value in PPR leagues, but wide receiver 3 value nonetheless. Even Tyler Conklin has been a top 7 tight end through 3 weeks because of the pass attempts in this offense. Those are likely to go down by maybe a large margin once Zach Wilson comes back. So, and I'm not sure how the target distribution is going to be affected, how the fantasy box scores are going to be affected. I like Michael Carter. I don't know if I'm going in on Michael Carter this week, especially with the presence of Breece Hall. So Tony Pollard out of those options. And Iron, yeah, it was. I caught that this morning when I was forgetting to set my lineup for the members only league. Don't hate me. Anthony Lee, what's going on, man? Flex Deontay Johnson or Judy this week, half PPR. I'm going with Deontay Johnson. If you look at what Deontay Johnson's been doing, yes, he hasn't been lighting up the box score like he did last year, but he's still averaging 10, 11, 12 targets a game, which is pretty much on par with the target distribution that you're getting for an Amon-Ra St. Brown, who has been a wide receiver 1 on the year. The only thing is Amon-Ra has scored touchdowns, has had a few more large gains due to his quarterback being more proficient than Mitchell Trubisky has been through 3 games. But Deontay Johnson is getting elite target share right now, and it's only a matter of time before he scores and has a ceiling week. He just has had floor weeks every week thus far. So I'm continuing to roll out Deontay Johnson with confidence, even though it hasn't been, exactly like it was last season. The target distribution pretty much is. Damon Lewis, I was worried about Jeff Wilson because of who they were playing, but that's what I was thinking. Hey, much appreciated. Thank you for being here, man. Always, if you have any more questions, throw them in the chat. You already know. And yeah, I mean, the Rams is a tough matchup, but you can't hate on the workload that Jeff Wilson is getting. You have to like the offense a little bit better now that Jimmy Garoppolo is at the helm. I mean, and that bodes well for Jeff Wilson because when they do get in the red zone, Jimmy G isn't going to vulture it the way that Trey Lance would have. So, no TDP. I'm rolling out Jeff Wilson with confidence. Sheldon Bright. Hey, man, I appreciate you being here. And yeah, Penny did have a game last year against Detroit, but again, that was a completely different offense. You can not compare even an ailing Russell Wilson offense with a Geno Smith offense. Like, that's a tough comp for me. I can't get there. But I really think just stick with the running back who's been getting it done in the better offense. He is the running back 8 on the year. Just roll him out there with confidence, and you know, this is best case scenario for you CEH owners. Nobody was expecting RB8 totals by week 3, right? So roll with it. So Tober, good to see you, man. How you doing? Start 2, Kirk Hollywood or Devonta Smith. I mean, you're starting Kirk. And Devonta Smith should be in position to be in another shootout. The Jaguars could make it a game with the way that they've been playing. So and those two options feed off of each other. If Kirk scores a long bomb, you know that they're going to be going to Devonta Smith on the other side of the ball. So that's a game that's just going to be like, you're going to be ping-ponging back and forth between those two guys all game. I think you use that to your advantage. Devonta Smith is going to run up the score on Christian Kirk, and Christian Kirk, vice versa. I like Hollywood Brown, but he hasn't been the consistent asset that we thought he was going to be. Christian Kirk has. And Devonta Smith, 189 yards last week or something like that. I'm chasing that. I am. And Evolve Nick, you don't have to have just one more question. We'll answer as many questions as you like here. Mike Williams or Devonta Smith? There's a tier break there. Because I love Devonta Smith this week. But Mike Williams with no Keenan Allen. Even if Justin Herbert is a little hurt, you're rolling out a wide receiver 1, Mike Williams. This is, you just keep rolling him out. I know we kind of dudded for you last week, but remember what he did for you the week before. He had the week that Devonta Smith had last week. Jonathan Minor, half PPR in the flex, Deontay Johnson or Dubs. Look, I'm coming around to Romeo Dubs. I am. But that's a tier break, man. I'm going with Deontay Johnson here pretty convincingly. So throw him in your flex, and I think he will at least give you a floor game, but I think this could be the week where he gives you a ceiling game. Because it really has... It's been there for him. It's just the offense sucks with Mitchell Trubisky. Maybe he gets a touchdown this week to go with the 12 targets, 11 targets that he's been getting every game. Damon Luce, another league, standard scoring. Yeah, you're the standard scoring king, man. I remember. Did you ever get any of your league mates to jump in on going into PPR? But Jeff Wilson or James Conner at the flex or Treylon Burks? I'm going James Conner. I know James Conner hasn't been incredible through 3 weeks. And I know we, on this channel, were predicting that James Conner was going to have a much better week or year. Especially early in the year before he got hurt. But his yards per carry hasn't... It's been terrible. He's gotten 10 attempts, 7 attempts, and 13 attempts in the 3 games. 6 targets, 4 targets, 5 targets. So, steady work. But they haven't been in the red zone as much as they have been in recent past. Even with, Kenyon Drake days, they were getting into the red zone more than they are through 3 weeks this year. Now, they've started off with KC, Las Vegas, and the Rams. So, tough schedule. Now it opens up a little bit, and, it's Carolina. So if he was going to have a week where he was going to get back on track, this would be the week for James Conner. I think you play James Conner. Because you're looking at the same workload for Jeff Wilson and James Conner. The Cardinals need James Conner to win. So James Conner could have a ceiling game at any moment. Jeff Wilson I feel like he's more like, you know, he's going to get you that steady 12 points. I'm going James Conner. All leagues change except one. Oh, all right. All right. I like that change. I like that change. You excited to see how it affects point totals and projections and everything for everybody moving forward in all your leagues? Because that changes up a ton. That changes up a ton. But, yeah, man, we are at the bottom of the chat, which is weird. I think with Nick here, I'm just used to, you know, the questions, the answers to these questions taking a little bit longer to answer. Since I don't have anybody to bounce these, you know, ideas and these takes off of. I mean, we're kind of just blowing through these chat questions. Does anybody have any more? I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. We're sticking with you, but does anybody have any more questions? Looks like a report just came through. The Commanders are expected to activate Brian Robinson after week 4. All right. Interesting. Good news. Very good news. For Brian Robinson, just himself, not even a fantasy take. Great news for Brian Robinson, the person. For fantasy, obviously, that'll shake up things a little bit with Antonio Gibson, but I don't even think Antonio Gibson loses a ton of value. I think they might scale back a little bit of the work they've been giving Curtis Samuel. And I think Jarrett Patterson goes back to nothing. I think J.D. McKissick, or if he was even, you know, getting any work, J.D. McKissick goes to nothing. And I think Antonio Gibson's role kind of stays the same. Maybe he gets a few goal line carries taken away. But Antonio Gibson showed enough to where I think he still deserves RB1 treatment from this offense. And, I mean, you look at his snap shares, 64, 54, 44. Yes, they've been declining every week. He's still been able to maintain viability. But regardless, this is the last week for Antonio Gibson to have the role, you know, pretty much unquestioned role to himself. So, Tober, Higbee or Schultz or Everett? I mean, I'm rolling with Everett. I am. With no Keenan Allen, I am going to keep rolling with Everett until Dak comes back, in which case I'll move back to Schultz full time. But Everett is if I have Everett, I'm basically just rolling out Everett every time, especially with no Keenan Allen this week. Or what looks to be like no Keenan Allen this week. Jonathan Minor, half PPR, A.J. Dillon and Jamal Williams as the running backs and CEH on the bench. Good move. With Jamal Williams, with Dillon, it's tough. I get what you're going for. Again, you're thinking just as good of a quarterback. They need him. Now they have all their weapons right in Green Bay for whatever it's worth, all healthy. Maybe A.J. Dillon gets in the red zone a little bit more. I think CEH, man, it's tough. A.J. Dillon hasn't had, he's had a few RB2 weeks where we were expecting a few RB1 weeks over the last 2 weeks. Jamal Williams is a play. I think I would go with CEH over Dillon. The Chiefs play the Bucks with Mike Williams back. They might need a little bit more trickery. They might need a little bit more trickery than just, running straight ahead against the Tampa Bay defense. I know the Tampa Bay defense is good, but CEH is going to have to get it done through the pass game. The fact that you're playing in half PPR, that bodes well for CEH even more than it does for Dillon. So I think I'm playing Jamal Williams and CEH. I love Dylan this week, but something tells me, man, the Packers aren't going to need to go balls to the wall against the Patriots playing Brian Hoyer. They're not. Now, that could mean that the Packers get out ahead and A.J. Dillon is just sealing the game away for 3 quarters. That could absolutely happen. I just think CEH is a better bet to score. Is a better bet to be used on the goal line. Let me think that one over, man. I'm definitely playing Jamal Williams. Playing Dylan might not be a bad idea. Now that I'm thinking about it, because of the garbage time we might be seeing from the Packers just salting it away with Dylan, this really might be a Dylan game. I'm swerving. It's fine to roll with Dylan. But I'd be looking to try to find a way to get CEH into my flex spot. Who's your flex player? Bo Hyun, good to see you, man. Should I start Jared Goff, Russell Wilson, or Matt Stafford? Russell Wilson is looking bad. I think he's the quarterback 24 through 3 weeks. Jared Goff, on the other hand, is the QB 10, I believe. But he's without his top 2 playmakers, so you can't trust him. I think I'm going Matt Stafford out of those guys. I love Jared Goff when everybody in that offense is healthy. He is a top 10 quarterback when that is the case. That is not the case this week. Matt Stafford. Jonathan, Deontay is in your flex. Ah, okay. All right. Well, yeah, then sit CEH, even though, you could swap him and Dylan out. It really depends on your preference. Are you going for the highly sought after touches, the red zone touches, the red zone work, the trickery plays with CEH on his 44% snap share? Or are you hoping that it's a Dylan game where by halfway through the game, the Packers are up by 2 scores and just salting it out with Dylan? Now, it could be that both teams just struggle because the Packers have struggled through the air as well. But, Aaron Rodgers, Brian Hoyer, it's really no comparison there, and we already know that, even with the diminished Green Bay offense. So, yeah, roll with Dylan, I guess, man. He's a guy that we both like on this channel, Nick and I. Damon Luce, Kenneth Walker is available in 1 league, but I have Swift, Kamara, Barkley, Pierce, and Patterson. Would he be a stash pickup? Who would I drop? I have DJ Moore, McLaurin, Amon-Ra, Chase, and Waddle. Yeah, with those wide receivers, I'm not dropping any of them for Kenneth Walker, especially because I have the running backs that I have. I think I would stay pat in that situation. I know the appeal that Kenneth Walker has. The shiny new toy. We haven't seen him yet. He presents untapped upside to our fantasy lineups. But you have Swift, Kamara. I know you're not going to be able to rely on him this week, but you have Barkley and Patterson as swerve options. And then Pierce, chilling. And you're basically rolling 5 deep at what should be our wide receiver 1s. Like, yeah, I know DJ Moore's performed like a wide receiver 3 and McLaurin is more like a wide receiver 2. But Amon-Ra, Chase, and Waddle. Yeah, man, I'm staying pat. I'm staying pat. Mike Lopez, good to see you. A member for 7 months. Thank you for your continued support of the channel. Nick and I both appreciate it. Do you have any questions? You have any lineup situations for week 1? Damon Luce, you're 3-0 in that league. See? Yeah, man, sometimes when you're 3-0, the best thing you can do is just stay pat. You don't need to try and hit a home run with the trade out of the gate when you're 3-0. Sometimes, you're doing everything you can right now. So just keep it moving with the team that you have. You have a great squad. Good job drafting. Good job drafting. But Mike, do you have any questions for us? Thank you again for being a member for 7 months. For everybody that is in here, if you are interested in being a member, click the link down and it should be right near the description below. We have 4 tiers, one of which gives you access to 2 extra streams a week with us for 99 cents a month. So you get 8 more streams over the course of a month for 99 cents, where there's, you're only competing with 7 other people, 8 other people, 9 other people for our attention on these questions, versus everybody where you might be fighting for our attention on a busier day for the streaming side of things. So that's something that we offer in season. But just think about it. Think about it. Mike, you're trying to decide between starting Davante Adams or Amari Cooper. I know Amari Cooper's been playing great this year, but you have to remember, he's playing with Jacoby Brissett, and it can disappear or go sideways on any given day with a backup quarterback. And Davante Adams is a different beast, and he's playing with a much better quarterback. That's a tier break. I'm going with Davante Adams all day. We're still in start your studs territory. It's only week 4. You probably drafted Davante Adams late in the first, early in the second. You continue to roll with those players, especially since Davante Adams really hasn't done much to deter you, even though he hasn't had the boom weeks that we have come to expect from him when he was on the Green Bay Packers. We knew that was going to happen, though. But he's at least giving us the floor games. So keep rolling with him. Keep rolling with them. Yeah, which games are you excited? Are you guys excited for most? I really haven't been keeping an eye on what's going on in this Vikings Saints game. I have to be honest with you. Looks like it's tied up. Andy Dalton looks efficient. Of course, no Alvin Kamara, so Mark Ingram is getting the majority of the work. Chris Olave scored a touchdown. Great for the rookie. Jarvis Landry, 2 receptions, 7 yards. Let's hope he gets a little bit more PPR work. But what games are you guys excited to see the most? I have to admit, this Bears-Giants game does not excite me in the least. The Jets-Steelers game is a little bit enticing because I'm interested to see what happens with Zach Wilson and this Jets offense with him at the helm versus what was going on with Flacco. I'm very interested to see that. The Titans-Colts game is kind of just like a meh game to me. The Lions-Seahawks game, if Swift and Amon-Ra were playing, the Lions are almost must-watch television right now. But without those options, that one's kind of a sleeper for me too. And sleeper not in a good way, but sleeper like is going to put me to sleep. Chargers and Texans. Anytime Justin Herbert is playing, and this could be a game he lights up the stat sheet, I'm watching. Browns-Falcons, that could be a underrated game, because both of their teams are playing very well. Both of the offenses are doing really well, even despite the fact that they have deficient quarterbacks. Brissett and Mariota doesn't scream high-flying matchup, but Cordell Patterson scoring all over the place. Nick Chubb scoring all over the place. Amari Cooper looking great. Drake London looking great. David Njoku having games. Kyle Pitts, he has the capability to have those David Njoku type games. I think that's going to be a little bit more of an interesting game this week. Commanders-Cowboys. Maybe it's the Commanders' chance to get back on track a little bit after a few weeks where Wentz has really struggled and just looked like Wentz. What happens with Wentz? He starts off hot. He struggles. He comes back looking all right. The stat sheet looks all right for him because he's picking up all that garbage time work, but he just looks terrible in the games, in 2/3 of the games he plays. In a divisional matchup against Cooper Rush, he could look a little better. This defense has been playing well for the Cowboys, so it could be a little bit rougher sledding again for Carson Wentz and the Commanders, but could be a better day for the Commanders as well. These divisional matchups never go the way you expect them to. This Jags-Eagles game has me very intrigued. I mean, the Eagles are almost must-see television at this point in terms of what the excitement that they provided for the NFL through 2 weeks. It was A.J. Brown. Look at the connection there. Last week, look at what Devonta Smith was doing. Wow. On the other side of the ball, Christian Kirk has been amazing. James Robinson has been comeback player of the year. Let's be real. That's the guy right now. Trevor Lawrence has looked much better. 2-1 versus a 3-0 team. That's going to be an interesting game. That's going to be a fun game. I'm looking forward to that game. And Bills-Ravens, obviously. You already know. You know I'm a Bills fan. So Bills-Ravens, that's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a fun game. Cardinals-Panthers. Cardinals should run away with this one. If they don't, warning signs. Ugh. Broncos-Raiders. Kind of expect the Raiders to just run away with this one based off of what the Broncos have been doing. I'm not real excited to be tuning into this one just because Russ has been so bad. I don't want to see a floundering offense. Hopefully they get back on track. Patriots-Packers. I think the Packers are going to run away with this one, and it's going to be an unexciting game. Chiefs-Bucks, I think is going to be fun. I think it's going to be a fun game. Tom Brady has his number one target back in Mike Evans against the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes, and the drama that brings, and that'll Super Bowl matchup from a few years ago, right? So, and then Rams and Niners should be a fun one. Monday Night Football should be a fun one. But Damon Luce, you're a KC fan, so looking forward to tonight's game. Yeah, man, that should be a fun game. I personally am always rooting for Tom Brady to lose. Mike Lopez, go Pat, go. They should win against the Patriots. They should. Damon Luce, all your neighbors are Seahawks fans, so keep an eye on them too. Seahawks fans, I mean, how does that happen? Is that just a fun coincidence? You're not in Seattle, are you? Are you in Seattle? Damon Luce dropped Logan Thomas and picked up Conklin. Hopefully that doesn't bite me. I don't think it will. I just don't think you should be expecting Tyler Conklin to continue to do what he's done through 3 weeks because the pass attempts in this offense are going to go way down. The snaps might stay there for him. He might stay a viable streaming option. I don't think he is a startable every week option moving forward because the pass attempts are going to drop by probably 15. Joe Flacco was throwing 59 times week 1, 44 times week 2. Zach Wilson, historically, was throwing around 32 times a game. That's going to affect this offense. So, do with that information as you might. But, Tyler Conklin, I don't expect him to continue to do what he's done through 3 weeks. And through 3 weeks, he's been a top 6 option at the tight end position. Very good for him. Props to him. I don't think that's going to continue. The Modern Dog, Freiermuth or Goddard. Tough situation, man, but I think I'm going with the one who has got the better quarterback. Goddard. I know it's been a little bit of tough sledding between him having to deal with the massive target shares for A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, and he's just kind of, the third option, and you have to factor in the run game then too, and Jalen Hurts' ability to run on the red zone in the red zone, so that takes away red zone viability from a tight end. For a tight end, that's crucial. But I'm still rolling with Goddard. Just shared the live with my leagues. Hey, man, I appreciate you. and just shared the live. Oh, dope. Thanks, man. Much appreciated. The Modern Dog. I hope Marquise Brown is healthy. Yeah, I mean, I hope every player is healthy. I've lost a little confidence in Marquise Brown. I thought he was gonna come in and through 6 weeks was gonna be a wide receiver 1. That has not been the case. Marquise Brown has struggled. And maybe we should have foreseen that, but he's still been a solid wide receiver 2. So you continue to roll that out. Last week, he had a boom week. Does he get 17 targets again? I don't know. I don't think we can predict that for anybody. Can he get back up to the 11 that he got in week 2? Yeah. Does he only catch half of those for, 68 yards like he did in week 2? Possibly. That's always a possibility for him. But, with him, all it takes is one long connection and he gets you 60, 70 yards. So I hope Marquise Brown is healthy too. And I hope that they can continue the momentum that we saw them build in week 3. And hopefully they can build off of that, because I'd rather see that Marquise Brown than the Marquise Brown that we saw in week 1 and week 2. And Damon, you live north of Seattle, man. I want to get to Seattle. I've never been to Seattle. It is on my list of places to go to in the U.S. I need to get to Seattle. And since the Derek Thomas rookie year, damn. All right. That's a throwback. Randy Miller. Who would you have chosen? Pick 2 for PPR, or full PPR. Ingram, CEH, Thielen, Dortch. Knowing that Kamara was down, I would have picked Ingram and CEH. And then if I had a choice between Thielen and Dortch in full PPR, I think I'm going Dortch. Crazy. But Thielen, he scored last week. His track record on the year isn't great. Dortch has been a PPR monster. Dortch has low-key been what Hunter Renfrow was the year before in full PPR leagues. Full PPR, Conklin or Tunyon? I think this week I'm going Tunyon. His snap share rose again. His snap share has risen in 3 consecutive weeks. His snap share was 58% last week, so it could get into the 60s or 70s. I feel like I'm talking about the weather. For Tunyon and his snap share and his usage, it's going to keep ramping up, and I think that bodes well for his box scores at the end of the day. Conklin, on the other hand, he's going from the most pass-happy quarterback in the NFL in Joe Flacco to a guy who's a lot more conservative, around 32 pass attempts, coming back from, 59 attempts and 44 attempts through 2 weeks. I don't know if Conklin is going to be able to continue to do what he's done through 3 weeks with the new quarterback that he's going to be playing with. So I'm going Tunyon. And Gavin Mertez, what's happening, man? Marquise Brown, Cortland Sutton, Breece Hall, or Damian Pierce. Cortland Sutton. And then Marquise Brown. And Conklin or Everett, for the same reason I'm going off of Conklin and going Tunyon for fam first. For you, I'm saying Everett, and it's even more emphatically because I really like Everett this year. Really like Everett this year. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sticking with Everett. But let's see if there's any new news that has dropped since I've been on live. Russell Gage is playing. Marquez Valdez-Scantling planning to play. Again, Brian Robinson looks like he's going to be suiting up after week 4. Cordarrelle Patterson plans to play. The Bucks are optimistic that Chris Godwin and Julio Jones are going to be playing. So yeah, that Bucks and Chiefs game is going to be a little bit more of a shootout. And it looks like Marquise Brown is expected to play, and he's healthy. So, I know you were a little bit worried about that. The modern dog, I think he's gonna be all right. I think he's gonna be all right. Damon Lewis, Conklin, Frymouth, Tunyon, Logan Thomas, or Komet for the rest of the year. Full PPR. Frymouth is the tight end 10 through 3 weeks with a terrible quarterback. He has a 10 target week in week 1. Has he reached those target level again in the next 2 weeks? No. But it's there. That upside is there. That security blanket value is there. And if and when they do go to pick it, I mean, everybody in this offense gets a boost. So Frymouth, he has, TE10 upside with Mitchell Trubisky, and more like top 8 upside with literally anybody else. Frymouth. And yeah, B-Rob coming back is interesting. It is interesting. Great to see it. You love to see it. Love to see a player come back from a weird situation, injury like that. So hopefully it doesn't affect his on-field effectiveness at all, and he's willing to hit the ground running. Speaking of hitting, I don't know if I want to phrase it this way. Hitting the ground running. The Tua situation. What do y'all think about Tua, and what do you all think about or hypothesize about his chances of playing at any point in time this season again? You think he's gonna suit up again this week or this year? Obviously, I think they hold him out for at least the next 2 weeks. If they're smart, maybe more. If they're smart, I think they got to pay the toll on this one and say, yeah, I know we went all in to win games. Terran Armstead, Tyreek Hill. We got Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson, Chase Edmonds, Sony Michel early on. Like, I know they went all out, paid a whole bunch of money. Melvin Ingram. But they mismanaged this Tua situation. He should not have gone back into the Bills game. And, even though they won the game, he should not have been back 5 days later to play in another NFL game. He should have never been in that position against the Bengals. So the team might just have to be like, all right, I know we were going all in this year. We might just have to play our backup until week 9, week 10. Just like you're hypothesizing, Damon. Like, they cannot play around with this. That is the worst concussion I think I've seen on an NFL field. We've seen some bad ones. We've seen Vontaze Burfict, AB. We've seen, I think it was, we've seen Austin Collie if you go back that far. We've seen a couple of nasty concussions on the field. I don't think anything compares to what we saw in that Bengals Dolphins game. That was a completely different beast and live on television, and they kept on showing those replays, and that is going to have some repercussions. And I don't know if, I think for the best interest of the player, you might have to treat a double back-to-back concussion like that like an ACL tear and shut him down. Because you don't want to play with a brain injury, especially now. Especially with everything that we know about brain injuries. Especially with CTE being such a huge thing. Especially with a guy who showed that maybe he is the franchise guy in Tua. coming back against the Ravens and then beating the Bills. So, I mean, it's a entire situation. I wish the best for Tua. I hope that the league and the team handles this the right way. I hope that Tua comes back healthy as soon as he can, and he doesn't have any, residual effects moving forward, because concussions can be weird like that. I remember, Kevin Cobb slipped on a mat on his birthday when he was playing for the Bills. It's kind of like a cult hero. Kevin Cobb slipped on a mat on his birthday, got a concussion. It ended his career as a quarterback in the NFL because, 3 years later, he couldn't be in bright rooms. He had to, the rooms he needed to be in, or to be comfortable, had to be dark because of the concussion that he sustained once. It wasn't a double concussion. He just slipped and fell and really hurt it, really bruised his brain, really hurt his brain, and was still dealing with the facts 3 years after. Don't want to see the same thing happen to Tua. They really need to handle the situation the right way. Tua might need to just sit out. Got to do what's best for the player here. But with respect to the rest of the Miami offense moving forward, it's a downgrade to everybody not named Tyreek Hill, because Teddy Bridgewater, he is good enough to hyper target his wide receiver one. We saw it when Tua left. Tyreek was the only guy that ended up with a decent game out of any Dolphin, including Jalen Waddle. So Tyreek Hill is the only safe option here. Jalen Waddle becomes a wide receiver 3, and nobody else really becomes usable. Maybe Raheem Mostert is their RB3, with Chase Edmonds being an RB4. What's going on, Patrick Haas? Good to see you. Welcome to game day. You got any questions for us? Jay Judah, you got any questions for us? Bro, if the Saints would just stop giving the other team the ball. Yo, I have to admit, I'm not paying attention to the game because I'm running this stream. 13-7. Judah, Teddy, a Miami kid, and it don't get easier than throwing it up to Hill. Yeah, it doesn't, which is why he's gonna do it over and over and over and over and over again, and it's gonna impact everybody else in the offense. Rojo, I hope it gets a little bit better. CEH or Bateman, Patrick? What's the format? PPR, half PPR, standard? Jay Judah, Hunt, Pollard, or DK in a standard league? I think I like Hunt there. Rojo, I look like Ken Dorsey in the booth watching this game. I done threw my coffee across the room. Yo, that was kind of hilarious, but honestly, I felt his pain and felt like doing the same thing when I saw the end of that Dolphins-Miami game. But that was, kind of, funny to see. You don't normally see that. You normally see a little bit more composure. Yeah, but it just goes to show you how strong that rivalry is between the Bills and the Dolphins. The Bills don't want to lose to the Dolphins. Coming off a win like that with the Ravens, the Bills don't want to lose to the Dolphins. But hey, hopefully the Saints it gets a little bit easier sledding for them. Standard league, CEH or Bateman. I mean, if it's a standard league, I think you got to go back to the guy who's been the RB8 in CEH. CEH. And Jay Judy, you're welcome. If you have any more questions, let me know. If anybody has any more questions, let me know. I'm answering all questions in the chat today. Anybody have any questions about, a DFS lineup they might be creating? A dynasty league they might be in, prop bets, which defense to play. Should I stream this kicker? I know I'm not the kicker whisperer. Nick is not here, but I can still try to help you answer those questions as well. You have any, who should I pick up for the future questions? Is Jameson Williams worth it? A stash? Should I be picking up this defense for week 10? Like, you got any questions like that? Let me know. That's what I'm here for today. Yeah, this Saints-Vikings game is not very high scoring. And Dalvin Cook, man. 10 for 34. Not the lineup you want for Dalvin Cook fans. Hopefully he can pick it up a little bit in the second half. Good morning, Tim Shields. Good to see you. Rojo, flex spot, half PPR, Dubs, Pollard, or Dameon Pierce? It's super flex and you have Aaron Rodgers. Then roll with the stack, bro. Roll with the stack. Roll with the stack. I have no issues playing Romeo Dubs this week if you have Aaron Rodgers and you want to complete the stack. Tim Shields, Panthers kicker or Giants kicker? Eddie Pinheiro, I mean, the one thing that Baker has been good at is getting the team just in range to kick a field goal. And his offense stalls at around that point, and they have no choice. With a banged up CMC, it's not going to get much easier. The Giants, Bears. I mean, they might be in field goal range, but like, I don't know, man. I think you. Giants. You go with the Giants. Giants kicker. Eddie Pinheiro's been, solid as hell through 3 weeks. But CMC, their number one playmaker, hurt, and obviously their number one wide receiver just is not performing like it. At least on the Giants side of the ball, their RB1 is performing like a top 5, top 3 running back in the league and can get them into the red zone, at will when he's on. So just based off of the playmakers available and the caliber of them and how they've been performing, I know CMC, if he has a good game, he can get back on track like that. But he's coming into the game banged up. Giants. Patrick, you've only made 2 trades this year. Henderson for ETN and Gibson for Dobbins. What's your grade or thoughts on those? You got ETN in trading away Henderson. Good job. I mean, it could end up being a lateral move, but I like ETN more than I like Henderson. And Gibson for Dobbins, that could be a little bit more of a wash. It could end up looking like, a loss at the end of the day because, once Dobbins does pick things up with respect to him getting back on track for being the RB1 that this team drafted him to be, he could be performing like a high-end RB2 for you, a low-end RB1 for you for your fantasy team week in, week out. And Brian Robinson could negatively affect Antonio Gibson. And Antonio Gibson's snap shares have gone down every single week this year. Started at around 60. Last week, they were at 44. Is that due to the presence? Then that was without Brian Robinson. Is that due to the presence of Curtis Samuel? I think so. Curtis Samuel has taken away some of his work. So, the Gibson deal could look a little bit uglier. You might, by the end of the year, be wishing you held on to Dobbins. But I like getting ETN for Henderson. Judah, should we let people who started in Kamara fix their lineup? No. And look, I'm speaking to somebody who left Kamara in their lineup. In the Facemask Fantasy members only league, no less. Feel like an idiot. But I mean, we're all grown ass people here. So if you forget to set your lineup, it's on you, and you take your lumps. Now, if you have a manager that habitually forgets to set their lineups, that's a problem that you need to fix. But if it's we just missed it, London game, early game, we weren't thinking about it. No, you let a manager take his lumps. I did it, and I just gotta deal with it, right? Hopefully my team is good enough to survive and advance. DR Cuevas, would you buy low on Allen Robinson right now or don't touch him? Depends what a buy low is. What's your idea of a buy low? Really? Am I trying to get Allen Robinson on my team? No. I think that energy is just spent better elsewhere. But if you believe in Allen Robinson rest of season, if you think you haven't seen the best of Allen Robinson, then go for it. I think right now is the time to buy a DeAndre Hopkins. Because what is he doing for the fantasy team that has, owned him for the past 3 weeks? Nothing. And they have to survive another 3 weeks before he comes back. And they could be 0-3. And if they're 0-3, capitalize on that and pick up a future wide receiver 1 for some depth that, you lucked into. Tim Shields, would you start the Colts defense or the Bears? I mean, I'm not trying to start the Bears defense at all. And now the Colts, they do have to deal with the Derrick Henry that caught fire last week. But that offense outside of Derrick Henry, and that is a big concern. But outside of Derrick Henry, is not scary. So I think the Colts still have a good unit, much better than the Bears. The opponent is a little bit scarier, but I'd rather be playing the Colts defense than the Bears. What's going on, Nemo? I hope you get a friend today. And Patrick, you got Dobbins. All right, then great for you, man. Both of those trades ended up in your favor, in my opinion. Eric Lanier, morning to you too. I can either make a trade for Kyle Pitts and send away Kittle and Akers, or just drop Palmer so I can get a kicker. Standard League, Keeper League. Look, I think better days are coming for Kyle Pitts. I also think better days are coming for Kittle. Akers looks to be the RB1 for what it's worth for the Rams. I think I'm keeping Kittle, knowing that Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback now for the Niners, which bodes well for Kittle. And that Kyle Pitts hasn't fired. That has a lot to do with the fact that his quarterback is hyper-targeting the number 1 wide receiver and not the tight end. We don't know if we can expect that to change. Kittle might have a road to more production than Kyle Pitts does. Plus, you're keeping, for this season, I'm not saying dynasty, whatever, but for redraft, I might rather have Kittle. And I'm not a huge fan of Kittle. But I might rather have Kittle knowing that Jimmy G is the quarterback there now. I might rather keep the Akers side of the deal because I think Akers can be a usable RB3, RB2. So I would just drop Palmer for a kicker because after this week, it's going to be the last week you can use Palmer as you've been using him because Keenan Allen is coming back. So drop Palmer, pick up a kicker. DR Cuevas, I hope it helped. I hope it just the discussions that I'm having, and if you want me to go more in depth into anything, let me know. But hopefully me just talking through it helps you with your process, even if you don't agree with me. Tim Shields, if I can get Hopkins for Akers, would you do that trade? I mean, what is the state of your team? Are you 3-0? You have Clyde and Robinson on IR. Robinson, James Robinson, Brian Robinson on IR. Who are your other running backs? Who are your other running backs? Is it just those two? Because then I would say no. If you have other guys there, I might do that deal. Yeah. You got Montgomery and you got Herbert. So you have the 1-2 punch there. You have Herbert. You have James Robinson. And then you have Brian Robinson on IR, because James Robinson wouldn't be on IR for you. But you have Clyde and James Robinson, and then whatever Chicago running back is playing. So and then you could get rid of Akers and get Hopkins. Yeah, I would do that. Sure. You're 2-1. Just out of curiosity, what do your wide receivers look like before you go and make a deal like that? Yeah, and you have Brian Robinson on IR. Okay. Clyde, James Robinson, David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, Brian Robinson on IR, and Akers, the expendable piece. Who are your wide receivers? Sad J, good to see you, man. Standard League, Fryermuth or Higbee today. Rest of season thoughts. Fryermuth in both. Frigby. Fryermuth in both. Fryermuth is the tight end 10 on the year. With Mitchell Trubisky, has 10 target upside. Did it week 1. 10 targets. In half PPR has gotten you past the 10 target or the 10 point threshold in 2 out of 3 weeks. Gets a boost if ever they move to Kenny Pickett. I like Fryermuth. Higbee just seems like he is plateaued, and he just doesn't have the ceiling that a Fryermuth presents. Famed Tiger, good to see you, man. Thanks for chilling. Thanks for hanging with us. Need running back advice. You have Khalil Herbert, James Robinson, Derrick Henry, Jeff Wilson Jr., and Rashad Penny. Who do I start? 2 slots. If you have Derrick Henry, you're starting Derrick Henry. The question here is, do you start Khalil Herbert with the role all to himself, or James Robinson, who has been, I believe, the RB3 on the year? I think you go Khalil Herbert because of what he did last week. I mean, I know James Robinson has been great, and he is the RB3 on the year, I believe. But they're playing the Eagles, the Jacksonville Jaguars are, and it could be more of an air it out game than a run it on the ground game. And James Robinson has, props to him, he's done it. But he has benefited from chunk plays every single week. Can we guarantee that against a very good Eagles defense? No. He's obviously talented enough to get it. But Herbert, 2 touchdowns, 100 and something yards last week, basically carried that entire offense because Darnell Mooney wasn't doing anything, Cole Kmet wasn't doing anything, Justin Fields wasn't doing anything, Equanimeous St. Brown was out there doing the best that he could too, Dante Pettis too. Velus Jones is going to be back this week. We'll see what that means for him. But, I think Khalil Herbert, I think you go Khalil Herbert, man. For this week, he is my favorite spot start. If you have him, I think he performs like an RB1 this week. Just like he did last week. Tim Shields, Jefferson, Pittman, Deontay, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, and Godwin. So you have good wide receivers. You almost don't need him. DeAndre Hopkins. If you got Jefferson, Pittman, Deontay, you roll 3 deep. And you have Godwin for whenever he comes back, you almost don't need him. So I think, honestly, you're one team where I would say, and you have I think I would stay pat. Keep Akers. Keep Akers. Keep Akers. Your one team I wouldn't recommend that for, because your wide receiver's fine. You don't need help there. Fame Tiger, also wide receiver help. Evans, Kirk, Amari Cooper, and Cooks. So you need to start. How many do you start there? You need me to pick one? Pick two? And Sad J, hey, good luck to you as well. I hope you win all your matchups today. Tim Shields, do you start James Robinson or Clyde? I think if you have the choice between James Robinson or Clyde, you start James Robinson. Clyde's been the RB8. James Robinson's been the RB3. And Fame Tiger, you start 2. Mike Evans, you're starting Mike Evans. And you're starting Christian Kirk. I think you're sitting Amari Cooper and Brandon Cooks because they have the worst quarterbacks of both. And at any point, those quarterbacks can struggle and fail, and you're looking at a floor week for Amari Cooper and or Brandon Cooks. Whereas Mike Evans, Tom Brady needs him to beat the Chiefs. Christian Kirk, Trevor Lawrence is going to need him to beat the Eagles. And they're much better quarterbacks. So I'm starting those first 2 guys pretty confidently. Hey man, you have a lovely day too. Thanks for chilling. If you have any more questions before kickoff, you already know, come through. I'll answer them for you to the best of my ability, and hopefully that'll help you win your fantasy leagues today, your fantasy matchups today. But do we have any more questions in the chat? Any more comments about any of the games today? Anything fantasy related? Is anybody looking ahead till, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now? Is anybody in the Dynasty League thinking of making a mid-season deal? Damon, if Patterson happens not to play, who should I start? Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, or go to the waiver wire and get Mackenzie Hollins or Josh Reynolds full PPR? I'm rolling with McLaurin, man. McLaurin. Divisional matchup, they might need him. They don't have a shutdown corner on that team. Terry McLaurin. Pretty convincingly. Yeah. Tim Shields, what do you think about Brian Robinson coming back? Hey, I think it's great that he's healthy enough to come back. I think it's great. Will he be legit? I mean, I think they take it slow week 1 of him coming back week 4. I think they take it slow, but I think eventually he can eat into the red zone looks that Antonio Gibson has been getting, at which case Antonio Gibson's a sub-package running back. So Brian Robinson, I don't know if he's going to become fantasy relevant himself, but he is going to limit the fantasy upside of other players for the run game, at least, as the run game is concerned for this Commanders team. Mike Lopez, you're concerned you made a trade last night for CMC. Ooh, what's the trade, man? What's the trade? Let us know. Eric Lanier, Wilson or Kirk in the flex? Standard, Kirk. Nemo, Jefferson just got traded. What? What? Am I missing something? Am I missing something? Nemo. Jefferson just got traded for Sutton, a 23 and a 25 first, and Alvin Kamara? In your league? Like, what? Explain this. But you picked up Minnesota for streaming next week. All right. I don't hate that. Sometimes you need to look ahead and do that one season look ahead prep stuff for your lineups and stuff. And you need some good Juju Smith-Schuster today in a zombie league. Yeah. I mean, I'm just glad that we did not play you last week and lose. I'm glad we won that matchup. So I'm hoping that you know, somebody else joins you, because that would be fun to see. And you do have a legit lineup now, man, in that league. And all right. I mean, that is the going rate for Justin Jefferson. It is. A deal like that does not surprise me. If you want to get Justin Jefferson, you got to give up the farm and more. Tim Shields, would you start the Bills defense today? I would start the Bills defense every day. Mike Lopez, CMC, Thielen, Hines, Claypool for Devontae Adams, AJ Dillon, Burkhead, and Vaughn. You did the deal. You got CMC and Thielen and Hines and Claypool. All right. We'll see how it plays out. Hopefully CMC can get healthy, stay healthy, and start putting up Saquon numbers. Like we all know he can. I just think I worry about the quarterback holding this offense back. It's clear Baker is holding DJ Moore back. I think he's also holding Christian McCaffrey back. So something you have to do, that you're gonna have to contend with there. It's tough. And Eric, glad I could help. If you have any more questions, let me know. How's that Saints game going? How's that Vikings game going? Vikings up 16-7. All right. Nemo, do you start Jeff Wilson, Clyde, or activate Brees off your taxi squad? Clyde. RB8 on the year. You play Clyde. Yep. You play Clyde. We have any more questions? Keep throwing it my way, man. Keep throwing me the ball. Chuck, man, what's your dynasty outlook for Isaiah Spiller and Zamir White? Hoping maybe during weeks 9 or 10 they start to see some playing time. That will be fantasy impactful. Zamir White might, but I still think like redshirt year. Look at what we saw from Patriots running backs in the past. They were not afraid to redshirt a running back. Josh McDaniels is obviously a disciple of that system. So I think we might see just a redshirt-ish year for Zamir White. And next year is the year where he takes that first and second down workload away from the vacated, Josh Jacobs. Isaiah Spiller is a different beast. Nick and I were not fans of Isaiah Spiller throughout the draft process. We know he got the draft capital over some guys. We know he was highly touted, and he looked like he was number 2 to Breece Hall early in the draft process last year. We are not fans of Isaiah Spiller. We think he is, he's a bust. We projected him to be a little bit like a, what's his name? Played for the Jacksonville Jaguars before Fournette for like a year. And then played for the Bills for a little bit. I'm blanking on his name. But regardless, we're not huge fans of Isaiah Spiller. And we think, he could go the way of a Joshua Kelly, a Larry Roundtree. Maybe not to that extent. Maybe he just hangs around the roster like a little more. But he might be, Trey Sermon-esque. He might just be a running back that is drafted relatively high, that flames out early. Because Sony Michel's playing over him, who was brought in basically not off the street, but basically off the street. I don't have high hopes for Isaiah Spiller. Zamir White, by next year, I think he can be an RB2. Nemo, Justin Fields over under 14 completions today. That's terrible. Oh, man, that Bears offense. Hopefully they can get it going. And hopefully with Darnell Mooney to help out my Darnell Mooney shares. Damon Luce, would you trade ETN for Brian Robinson? No, I wouldn't. I would trade Brian Robinson for ETN, though. Tim Shields, over under PPR for Herbert, 20. Over 20. No, like I think he's gonna get over 20. Would I make that? Would I over under it? No. You can't do that with the Bears offense. But do I think he can get over 20 PPR points? Absolutely. Am I gonna bet on it? No. But I think he gets somewhere in between 15 and 20. TJ Yeldon, that's what the yes, TJ Yeldon. I think he's TJ Yeldon. I think he's Wayne Gallman. I think he is a good backup who cannot be a starter. And maybe and good backup is, conditional because can grow into being a good backup. But there's a chance that he's just too undersized to be a good backup even. He struggled at the combine with his speed. Even though he was an SEC running back, caught 20 receptions in every single year. Like he just maybe doesn't have the blitz pickup. But for whatever reason, they're not using him. So we can't use him if the team's not using him. So Tober, Everett is on waivers. You going Disley or Tunyon over Higbee? If Everett's on waivers, I'm going to get Everett. Am I going Disley or Tunyon over Higbee? Tunyon over Higbee, not Disley. And you're waiting on Schultz until next week? Yeah, I am too. Until Dak comes back, really, not even just next week. I'm waiting until Dak comes back. But if Everett is on the waiver wire, I'm going to get him now. Tim Shields, since Zach Wilson is coming back, would you start Moore or Garrett Wilson? I'm not starting either until I see what this offense looks like with Zach Wilson. I know you might not be in a position where you can choose, in which case tie goes to the guy who's been doing it for the past 2.5 to 3 games, Garrett Wilson. I know there is a narrative to where you might say, hey, Moore's the guy that was doing it with them last year. Maybe it's back to Moore. I'm sticking with the guy who's been doing it in Garrett Wilson, but you cannot expect a ceiling game with Zach Wilson coming back for his first week. We don't know what to expect from Zach Wilson. The one thing we can say for certain, he's not going to be throwing to anywhere between 44 and 59 attempts a game like Joe Flacco was. So there's going to be a little bit of the high floor is going to be removed from the offense for this, as far as the fantasy assets in this offense are concerned. Garrett Wilson isn't going to be, I believe, a 12 target wide receiver. So if you're in a position where you have to start somebody, Garrett Wilson. But I'm trying not to start anybody from this offense. Nemo, Jamal. I'm guessing that's Jamal Williams or Khalil Herbert. Who should I pick up for DFS today? Both. Like, spend elsewhere. Like, don't go for a Saquon and a CMC or something like that, or a Nick Chubb or whatever. Go Jamal Williams and Khalil Herbert and spend up elsewhere. Spend up at tight end. Get your Kelsey. Spend up at Andrews against the Bills. Maybe that's the way you go. Andrews against the Bills. You spend up at wide receiver. Nemo, Treston Ebner worth an ad with Montgomery possibly missing extended time with the ankle knee injury? Sure, if you have the bench space. The Ebner comp is David Johnson. I'm not comping anybody to David Johnson. But, and it's obvious that Khalil Herbert is next man up in a big way. So, yeah, I mean, don't add Ebner thinking you're getting David Johnson. Add Ebner thinking if anything happens to Khalil Herbert now, and David Montgomery isn't available for next game or the game after that, I have somebody for a 1 to 2 week stretch. But expecting Ebner to be anything more than a break glass in case of emergency guy for the next 2 weeks is unrealistic. Anthony Ramos, good to see you. Bucks D or Colts D? Bucks D. Yeah, I know they're going up against the Chiefs. You continue to roll out that Bucks D. Colts D or Eagles D? Or Bucks D, if you have to choose between the three. I'm still rolling with the Bucks D. Wilson is in my flex, Tim, and it's a 3 wide receiver league. Would you start Clyde over Wilson in the flex? Yes. Emmy Itigbe, what's happening? Damian Pierce, Ramondre Stevenson, Michael Gallup, Zay Jones, Rashad Bateman, ETN. Pick a wide receiver and a flex. Bateman and Stevenson. Bateman and Stevenson. Yo, Zay Jones isn't active. So everybody in here. So Tober is correct. Zay Jones isn't active. So adjust your lineups accordingly. If you had Zay Jones in any leagues playing this week, swap him out for somebody. And if this creates any situations for you where you're not sure of who to play, throw it in the chat and we'll help you figure this one out. Nemo, does J.D. McKissick lose value when Brian Robinson is active? Absolutely. He's not playable right now. So yeah, he loses value as soon as Brian Robinson comes in the fold. So does Antonio Gibson. How much? That's a little bit unquantifiable at this point. But I think Antonio Gibson loses his red zone work, or at least some of it. And I think J.D. McKissick, he's unusable. Anthony Ramos, Penny, Hines, or Henderson, full PPR. Penny, because I don't believe in Henderson or really Hines. I think Hines has been wildly overrated by the fantasy community. And that's just me. Nick does not agree. Henderson, on the other hand, he had a good week 1, but it seems like everything is switched into Cam Akers' favor. So it's Darrell Henderson. I mean, it's Rashad Penny out of those ones. Nemo, Donta Foreman, or Justice Hill. Would you add one with a free roster spot? Yeah, I'd add one. If I was gonna choose one, it'd be Donta Foreman. I know the hot waiver ad is Justice Hill, but I do think J.K. Dobbins is gonna come back all right. CMC, you never know, and Donta Foreman could just end up being the 1-for-1 replacement with a little bit of Chuba Hubbard thrown in there if CMC ever goes down, and there's always a chance for a prolonged absence for CMC. And Emmy, you forgot to mention it was full PPR. So Bateman and Stevenson. I'm rolling with those two. Yeah, anybody got any more questions? Let's see here. Dalton Schultz active against the Commanders. Zay Jones, like we said, inactive. Cordero Patterson is playing. Looks like Mark Ingram went to the locker room with an injury. Okay. Never want to see that. So who's the running back right now for the Saints? Sorry, Rojo, that probably looks bad out there. Latavius Murray. It's Andy Dalton and Latavius Murray? Blast from the past. It's kind of awesome. Not going to Anthony Ramos, Allen Robinson, or Jahan Dotson, full PPR at the flex. I think edge goes to Allen Robinson still. E111, what could have been, what should have been, might have been a face mask. You already know, man. Thanks very much for the comment. What's going on, man? Nemo, how bad does Teddy Two Gloves affect the Speed brothers, Hill and Waddle? I mean, Hill's going to be fine because Bridgewater will hyper target his wide receiver 1. Waddle, I'm worried about. Waddle becomes more of a wide receiver 3. Emmy, thoughts on Rondell Moore this week? He's active. I think Greg Dortch stole his job, and I think he's got to take it back. So I'm not trying to rely on Rondell Moore at all this week. Christian Valdivia, the weather in Baltimore looks really bad. Should I sit Josh Allen? You should never sit Josh Allen. Never sit Josh Allen. Nemo, favorite animal? I have a pet. I have a pet cat, and that is my favorite animal. Not that cats are my favorite animal, but that my pet is my favorite animal. That might not have been the answer you were looking for, but whatever. Vito, Tropeano, what's going on, man? Elijah Moore, Josh Palmer, or Godwin if he plays PPR. Look, if Godwin plays, you're playing him. If Godwin is playing, you're playing him. I don't care what your lineup is. If Godwin is playing, you're trying to find a way to put him at least into your flex spot. If Godwin does not play, which it looks like they were pushing for him to play, I'm going Josh Palmer here. In a game where there is no Keenan Allen. Anthony Ramos, start 3, full PPR, Gabe Davis, A.J. Dillon, Josh Reynolds, McCaffrey, or Pickens. McCaffrey, A.J. Dillon, and Gabe Davis. Though that is who I would start. McCaffrey, A.J. Dillon, and Gabe Davis. Eduardo, good to see you. DJ Moore or Dubs. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Dubs. I can't believe I'm saying this. Romeo Dubs over DJ Moore right now. Hot take. But for this week, I'm not saying for the rest of the season. For this week, I think I'm going Dubs over Moore. Crazy. Never thought I'd be here. Tim Shields. So Godwin over Clyde in the flex. Oh, man, like it's tough. But again, Godwin has usually, I mean, he's right up there in terms of value with what Higgins has gotten you. He's still playing with Tom Brady. And it's probably the best offense you could be going up against in terms of an offense that's going to force you to stay in pass first mode, playing against the Chiefs. So it's up to you. Do you think that this is going to be a high-scoring game that might have running backs phased out of the offense? In which case, Godwin. If you think it's not going to be so pass-heavy, you go Clyde. I'm inclined to go Godwin. If it's any sort of PPR format, half PPR format, I'm going Godwin. If it's standard, Clyde. Crumply Heads. Hollywood is out. What? I didn't see that. Is he? I didn't see that. Where'd you see that? I know he's questionable. Nemo, you were expecting me to say Velociraptor? Nah. And you wonder if Algier gets more work as the season goes on? I think he will. But it's hard to not play Cordarrelle Patterson. Why? They have no reason not to continue to just roll out Cordarrelle Patterson as long as he's healthy and effective. Anthony Ramos, between the Colts and the Eagles, which defense? I think the Eagles have a better defense. Colts play Derrick Henry. Eagles. And Modern Dog Q. K. What are we doing that for? Yeah, and I didn't see Marquise Brown out. Jay cross country, Deontay or Sutton PPR. Deontay. Mike Williams or McLaurin PPR. Mike Williams. Cooper Rush or Wilson. Crumply heads. Oh yeah. I didn't see that either. Just look that up real quick. He's questionable. I didn't see that he was out. Yeah, it caught me by surprise too. I didn't see that. If you can verify that, man, let us know. Crumply heads, I just yeah, you said no, he's in, so yeah, caught me by surprise too. Any more comments here? We got quite a bit of time still before the before kickoff, but it's been a little bit slower here today. No Nick. But I suspect it's a little bit lower viewership because there is an NFL game going on right now. So we have a few more people, a few less people in the chat than we normally would. If you guys have any more questions, let me know. I might shut it down so I can watch the tail end of this London game as well. I will keep the Discord open. Discord is, I believe, the second or third link in the descriptions below. You can click on that, join our Discord for free, and we'll continue to have this conversation offline. Between Mike Williams and Hollywood, I'm going Mike Williams, Crumply Heads. And Nemo, do I start Devonta Smith or Godwin in PPR? Oh, man. Like, what are the other options there? Who are you, like, I don't know, man. That's tough. That is tough. I think you continue with the Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith. Godwin coming off of an injury could still be on a little bit of a snap count, but I think he's pretty much going to get full reign, and Brady's gonna hyper target him. So in PPR, Godwin's a good asset too. Devonta Smith just has game breaking ability like we saw last week. 180 yards. I mean, when it's, I do think it goes back into AJ Brown favor. AJ Brown's favor, but no, actually, I'm going Godwin here. PPR is gonna get hyper targeted by Brady this week, but Mike Williams over Hollywood and the Modern Dog. One can only hope. Nemo, Hurts, Lamar Jackson, or Kyler DFS. Whichever one is cheapest out of those three. I'm inclined to say Hurts. But yo, thanks everybody for chilling. I am gonna take this offline. We're gonna continue this discussion on the Discord up until kickoff. I'll have the Discord open, so any questions that come through, I'll answer them. But thank you guys for chilling today. Let's I don't know what I'm saying. Thanks for chilling. Enjoy the games. I hope everybody wins, and we'll see you next week, Tuesday, for the waiver wire stream when Nick is back. But have a great day, y'all.